Hello. Welcome back, everybody, to my YouTube channel, OG Reflections. Today, inshallah, we've got a reaction video. A Japanese professor, right? Japanese professor converts to Islam. Cucumber led me to Islam. It's a very interesting title. Allahu Alam, God knows what it means, but let's watch it together and see what happens. So, Bismillah. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
But after I entered Doshishi University, I wanted to become a pastor. I found one book. That book is about the God. But after finishing the book, I found out that that book is the Japanese translation of the Islamic classics. It's written by the famous Syrian scholar. So I have sent an email to her husband, and we have met the small a cafe. But once he entered the cafe, he started crying. And I was so shocked, but he said that his wife has passed away because of the cancer. After he lost his wife, when he read my email, he said that he remembered a hadith saying that the amal, the deeds of the human being will continue even after he passed away and following the three conditions. So he found out that he didn't lose his wife. And I went to Egypt. And I spent first Ramadan there, so I tried fasting. And I was coming back from the language school. There was a person who called a gatekeeper, and he was eating one cucumber. Then, this cucumber isn't the reason that I became Muslim.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Naiki Yamamoto. Thank you for it.
Okay, interesting. Bismillah, inshallah. It's a very interesting country intro. Obviously, he mentioned at the beginning the hadith that refers to, if a person dies, then his deeds no longer count, except if it's from three different things, I believe, right? If it's a son who prays for him and makes dua for him, for example, or sadaqah jariyah, right? For example, or ilmun yantafa bih, right? Knowledge that he has spread, or any ongoing charity that he has done. Okay, yeah. So let's see what
Accepting our
goes
invitation.
on.
We are very happy to have you with us. So I want to start with, who is Naoki Yamamoto? Can you tell us briefly about your life, please?
Yes, so Salam, thank you very much for inviting me to this program. I'm Naoki Yamamoto.
Yes.
So I'm from Japan. I became Muslim at the age of 19, I think, about 19 years old. And
19.
And after finishing PhD, I have moved to Turkey. So now I'm based in Istanbul. And currently I work as the assistant professor and lecturer at the Marmara University. Well, I was born in the Christian family, but it's not kind of like practicing like a Christian. But my father and mother was reading the Bible, so the Bible is in the home. But it's not like really like conscious like a Christian.
How was your life in regards to faith? What were you believing in?
Yeah, just because like I'm half Scottish, for example. So in the UK, for example, it's a Christian country, right? Christian culture, but nobody really celebrates anything related to religion, right? It's just celebrating, for example, Christmas. But other than that, seldom do people actually go to the church, for example, or seldom does anyone have a Bible. But they still, like, if you ask them, for example, are you a Christian? They'll say, well, I was raised as a Christian, right? They will never say, I am a Christian, right? They will say, I was raised as a Christian, right? Or they might say, not really, right? Because the UK, for example, is a very agnostic country. There's a lot of atheists and stuff, or people that are, just can't be bothered. So Japan also similar.
Before even becoming Muslim, I believe in some like divine being, but I didn't have like a clear understanding of like divinity or God. So that's it. And in Japan, it's really difficult to find even like slight opportunity to contemplate about divinity or complain about religion. So, yeah, I was not the atheist. This is why I'm sure. But I didn't have like a chance to think about the religion. So.
What was the thing that made you question your beliefs?
But after I entered Doshishi University, I was reading the other books of religion. Like I read the books of Taoism, I read the book of Buddhism, or I read the book of.
I think this is AI.
I found one book. That book is about the God. When I first read this book, I didn't know what this book was about. Because it didn't say, the
AI
name
is
of the
scary,
God.
man.
It didn't say about the prophet. But after finishing the book, I found out that that book is the Japanese translation of the Islamic classics. And that book starts with the saying of the Kul Kashir Kafi, La yubayin tawhidaka illa iza kharajt ank. It means that Everything, your existence, your everything is a shirk khafi. The hidden, like shirk, the hidden polytheism, shirk. And unless you cannot overcome yourself, or you escape yourself, your tawheed, I mean the hakikat tawheed, like reality of tawheed, will never reveal to you. So this is the Risala Tawheed. The main aim of Risala Tawheed is that how superficial this dunya is, and how superficial that our ego is, and how superficial our existence is, and how important for the humanity to know this reality and devote ourselves to one God, to Allah. And I have found out that this author was the female, like a Japanese, like a Muslimah, like a scholar. And also I found out that her husband was working in the same university. And I thought like this is kind of like a message. The English we call is like a calling. And before that, I never had like really like structured like education about religion. But even that book is like less than 100 pages. I found that book offers me the operation system. So I have sent an email to her husband, the professor. He himself is also a professor, and he replied to me, and we have met the small like a cafe next to the university. But once he entered the cafe, he started crying. He started bursting in tears, and I was so shocked because I didn't do nothing wrong. Yeah, I didn't beat him or I didn't steal anything from him.
Don't do anything.
He said that his wife, the author of this book, has passed away a year ago because of the cancer. And he himself is also like a great scholar. Like he finished a PhD in Egypt. He got like various like ijaza from like many scholars. So he is also like an alim, like a Japanese like an alim. But after he lost his wife, he like suffered like so much because his wife is the only person that he loved in his life. And also they have devoted themselves to serve like a Muslim community in Japan. They have sacrificed so much, but Allah gave him these like great challenges. So that's why he even like a question in Allah that why Allah giving him such like a great like a pain.
Trials and
When he
tribulations.
read my email, he said that he remembered a hadith saying that the amal, deeds of the human being will continue even after he passed away, and following the three conditions. The one is as in the form of ilm, and second one is the sadaqah
Sadaqah
jariyah,
Jariyah.
and third is the prayer
Prayer.
of the children.
Yes.
So he found out that he didn't lose his wife. His wife is still living as a book in ilm. And this ilm itself is also the sadaqah jariyah. And now this is like an 18 years old or 19 years old kid is studying about Islam as well. So this is what he said to me in a cafe. And this is my first encounter with Islam.
What was the major in the university that you attended?
So in Doshisha University, I have entered the School of Divinity. So it's a theology. But this theology is not like Ilahiyat in Turkey. So this theology is a Christian theology.
So why did you choose that major? To learn more about Christianity?
Yeah, to learn more about Christianity. So at the time, I wanted to become a pastor.
So you were a kind of a spiritual person, and you wanted to satisfy that need that you had in Christianity.
Yeah, at the time, I think yes.
But you couldn't find what you were looking for in Christianity, or it was just the beginning of your university years?
I met this Muslim professor in May, and I have entered university in April. So it's just like 1 month.
Okay.
I entered the School of Theology, the Christian theology, but I met Muslim professor.
Yes. Wow.
Yes.
And how did your journey towards Islam continue? What happened afterwards that you finally became Muslim?
So after I met this professor in Jushin University, I got a private education from him. So I studied the classical Arabic language, and I studied some of the Islamic
MashaAllah.
classics. And I went to Egypt
Egypt.
to attend the intensive Arabic program. And I spent first Ramadan there. So I tried fasting. But what I found, or what I saw in Cairo was really inspirational. In Cairo, there was a culture called the Ma'idat al-Rahman. It's like a table of the Ramadan. So during Ramadan, people who are forward to prepare food. Usually rich people or even celebrities, they prepare the food and they prepare on the street in a way that everyone can enjoy and eat the iftar. And it was so shocking because in Japan, individualism is really strong. And I
Individualism.
was living in the shakka, a small apartment. And I was coming back from the language school. In the Cairo society, there was a person who called a gatekeeper, like a bawab, in every apartment. And there was one bawab is living in the ground floor of the apartment, and he was having iftar. And he was eating one cucumber. And his life is so decent. I mean, he's not a super rich person. So I'm pretty sure that this one cucumber is the only thing that he can have. And I was coming back to the apartment, and I saw him. And when he saw me, he gave me his cucumber.
Wow.
He said,
Oh my
"Tafadhal."
God. Wow.
He said, "You can have this cucumber." And it was so shocked because that is the only cucumber that he could have for iftar that night. But when he saw this non-Muslim, spoiled Japanese kid, he didn't hesitate at all to eat his cucumber. And everybody asked me why I became Muslim. Everybody tell, I mean, this is very typical experiences of the Muslim converts. Like everybody asked him that why they become Muslim or the story, the conversion. And I was telling them that this cucumber, and this cucumber isn't the reason I
Became
became
religious
Muslim.
because of a cucumber.
I mean, the first encounter
Nice.
is always this book. It's a book written by the first Japanese female scholar. This is the first encounter. But the reason I made a decision to become Muslim is this cucumber. Because I told him that, in Japan, people don't talk about religion. But it doesn't mean that the Japanese are not religious or Japanese are atheists. Nothing like that. Like, Japanese want to see the tangible practice. Yes, people believe in one religion. Then what do they practice based on it? And this cucumber, what I saw in Cairo, is the manifestation of the Islamic spirituality. That you live in a decent life, or your life may be difficult, or you're living in a society in Cairo.
Okay, I'll stop it here for a second. I have a ton of students from Hong Kong. Now, Hong Kong, that's obviously it's not Japan. It's a little bit related to China, but there's some political differences and stuff. But I have some students also. I used to have some students from Japan. And Japan in general, the Japanese culture, they're sort of very, they're more masculine, right? They're very strict, a bit like the German, the German discipline, but in a good sense, right? And they don't have a lot of fast food places there, or they do, but you'll never find a fat Japanese person, right? Because they're very disciplined. Japan is a nice country, right? The only thing is that yes, they need discipline, right? Or they have their own discipline. And I swear, for example, I used to have 3 or 4 different Japanese students, adults, men, and they all had the same character. They all had the same character. I don't understand how, but they all had the same character, and they all loved action films. I don't know if that indicates anything, but they love action. They love, discipline, I guess. They love things that happen, right? They're not very theoretical. They're very practical. That's what I want to see. So yeah.
It may be difficult or so challenging, but there is something that we must believe in. There is something that we must practice based on it. So this is why, this Bawab, he's not like a scholar. He's not like
Just
a
a regular
sheikh from
guy.
the Azhar University, or he's not like a mufti of the Diyanet. He's just one decent a gatekeeper. And also, at the time, the Instagram or the YouTube is not widespread. Nobody's taking a video of him, even a cucumber, just me and him. But he practiced it. He gave his cucumber. Why? Because he believes in Islam. This is when I saw the quwwatul iman, strength of the iman. That you don't have any subscribers, or you don't get any money out of
okay.
it. But you believe in Allah, so that's why he gave his cucumber.
True.
So in my life, I can clearly say that is the moment, that I am convinced that this Muslim believes in Islam. But Japanese want to see practice, application. Because right now, for example, there are so many TikTok celebrities, or I don't know, YouTube, Imam or Dawi or something. That if you only rely on words, it remains at a really superficial discursive level. And even when we read the hadith or we look back on the life of the Prophet, and what he emphasized is, of course, like calling to Islam is inviting the people to the right like faith. But this faith is not about like reading books. This faith is not about like giving lectures. So this is faith.
Practical,
It's not
not
about
theoretical, as I
like
said.
giving like a khutbah in a jami. Of course, these are all the important things. But this faith, or just like give like one slight love, or like compassion to the people who are in the difficulties. This is also like a religion. Like this is also the faith.
And then what happened that you became Muslim finally?
And I say shahada, and that's it. But this is really important thing is that the people expect some like a Iron Man or Spider-Man transformation from the like Muslim converts. How I met like a great sheikh, and I'm touched by his iman, and when I say shahada, like nur come into my heart, and everything looks so shiny. Of course, it may happen, but it didn't happen to me. But it is just I said shahada
Just
and
a
become
regular
Muslim.
day.
Like, as I said, like, I'm not Spider-Man.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm just like ordinary human being. I became Muslim.
Yeah. What was the time duration between this cucumber moment and your shahada?
Cucumber
Like
moment.
months or years?
I think like 2 or 3 days. Yeah.
This happened, and 2 years later you became Muslim.
Yes.
Oh, mashallah. Wow. What impressed you the most about Islam?
What is my most about Islam? This cucumber. This cucumber. Like, I mean, so just you will see how individuals in Japanese society is.
Really?
Like, I'm sure like nobody's give a cucumber.
They will keep it to themselves, you say.
Yes.
So, have you ever experienced an extraordinary event where you felt that you had a special connection with maybe your praying being accepted in the most, dire need, you had help?
Yes. I think that when I felt a special connection with Allah is that, this is the problem in humanity is that we always think that we are the center of the universe. That it means like we always think that we will do something like do great, or we will bring goodness to the Muslim communities. When I became Muslim, I thought I must do this to the Muslim communities, or without me, it's gonna be
Yeah.
who can do this without me or something like this kind of like a mindset.
Yes,
or-
everybody wants to be the savior at one point, right? And he believes that they're going to change the whole world. But the point is, just change yourself, right? Change yourself, and then gradually, people will want to follow, people will want to copy, right? Change yourself, that's more important.
Like I believe that there are so few like Japanese Muslim intellectuals in Japanese society, so that's why I need to make effort to show the guidance of something. That's kind of like arrogance. I'm not saying this is arrogance. The other time it's pure intention. But when you grow up, you start to understand that there is a limitation in individual and the power. There are some like imam or like Muslim scholars who believe that they are the ones who bring like a goodness to the communities. But those kind of like mindset is a fake. It is a fraud. And Allah will decide who will be guided by Allah, who will be inspired. And we just know those big pictures. And this is something that I could never understand when I just become like a Muslim.
What are the biggest problems of Japanese society you think that Islam can solve?
I think biggest problem is just loneliness.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really a serious thing. In Japan, suicide rate is so high. At least like 20,000 people are gonna commit suicide. Like 20,000. Like it's so many. Yeah,
Per
year.
year.
Like this is unimaginable. Like 20,000 like people. Like this is almost like a civil war or something. And we don't know how to solve these issues. Now, because I saw there are so many young Japanese people are like visiting masajid, mosque and masjid, or the Muslim like Dawah center or something, to see the human connection. And there was one of my friends, he's a professor, and he was working in a cafe, and he was studying in a cafe, and there was one guy, talked to him, and they had a small conversation in a chat. And after the conversation, this Japanese guy said to him that, thank you very much for this kind of good conversation. This means that he never had this kind of, even a small chat in the Japanese society.
Could Japan really become a Muslim country? I mean, can you picture that in your mind? And how likely is it?
I'm not sure it is a good idea to expect Japanese or Japan to embrace Islam in just like 5 years or like 10 years. Like it might happen because Japanese population is decreasing, and now we have like lots of like the foreign immigrants coming to Japan. So it might happen, but I'm not sure this is a good thing or not. And Yeah, what is more important is not just like becoming Muslims
Yeah.
or becoming a Muslim country. Because look at the other like Muslim countries. There are so many Muslim countries which are so corrupted, and also look at the non-Muslim countries. There are so many non-Muslim countries which are so corrupted. So what is important is that if we can build an intellectual heritage, in Islamic intellectual heritage, in the Japanese societies, like if those Muslims can show some new creativity to the Japanese societies, then what we must show is like this uncompromised spirit, or the power of the intellectual like tradition to the Japanese society.
What impressed you the most about the Prophet ﷺ?
I think what it was surprised about had the power of resilience, especially when in the time in the Makkah, not the time in Medina. It's like when he was like the minority, the people don't understand what he was doing. Like this power of resilience is something that we miss right now. Just remember how many years the Prophet made a dawah in the time of Makkah. I mean, even the Prophet have faced such difficulty, and look at us. Like we are Nescafe people. Like we cannot see the outcome within 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Like we started to like blame or complain.
Dr. Naoki Yamamoto, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
No,
and
thank you
sharing
very
your
much.
insights with us. Hope to meet you again in another project, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, that's amazing. Inshallah, Allahu Akbar, a very good video. Cucumber led me to Islam. To be honest, when I read the title, I thought he was going to say that, I don't know, he researched it maybe or something, or because there are many fruits and vegetables that are mentioned in the Quran. As far as I know, I don't think cucumbers are mentioned in the Quran. Interestingly, a few days ago, by the way, I had a dream that I was buying half a kilo of bananas, half a kilo of figs, and half a kilo of oranges. I don't know what that means, by the way. But anyway, yes, fruits and vegetables, and he was sort of intrigued by this random person's act of generosity, right? And this led him to become Muslim. He said, he became Muslim 2 or 3 days later after, straight away. Anyway, very, very interesting video. So, what do you think of this video? And yeah, that's us for today. Thank you very much. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and check out all the other content on my channel. Thank you very much. Good.